Good evening to you all, and today my presentation will be a topic on PSM, that is preventive and social medicine. Especially, I am giving the videos for the emergency medicine. Then I will be giving subsequently for the PGTs in medicine, different topics. So I will be. I have also given in my earlier videos for those who are preparing for UPSC and for the PGTs in emergency medicine also. Now today I will be giving videos on. Today I will be discussing with the topic in the community medicine, and in community medicine I will be discussing topic on collection and presentation of data. So now basically after reading the chapter on you should actually the main aim of the this chapter is to define that, actually to know that you should know to define data, to enumerate the various types of data with suitable example, then to compare then contrast between various types of data you should know, to know about the scales of the measurement, and to convert qualitative data into quantitative data and vice versa, and to enumerate the sources for collection of data, and to explain the various methods or methodologies of data presentation. Now to explain various methods of data presentation and to select appropriate method of data presentation taking into the account type of data, and to draw the appropriate graphs and presentation of data, and to compare and contrast between the tabular and graphical methods, and to compare and contrast between the various graphical methods and data presentation. Now this is the main methodologies, this is the main thing which I will be focusing on. So before we start, we should know that what is a data. Data is actually a plural of datum. It is a fact which is expressed in the numerical terms. Actually the facts which are expressed in the numerical terms, and this consists of the discrete observation of the attributes or events that carry a little meaning when considered above. Now considered alone. Now data need to be processing before it can be used for any analysis. Now it should be processed for what analysis, for what particular presentation we are doing, that data should be analyzed. And before we proceed, we have to understand the different types of data. So different types of data, so we basically know what type of data is, and now based on the basic classification of definition rather of data, we are coming into the types of data. Now data can be variously classified as quantitative and qualitative. Now qualitative data is also called as the enumeration of data. Now it represents a particular quality or of attribute, that is known as qualitative data. Now religion, like for example sex, tall or short blood group, cured or not cured, grey or black hair are the examples of qualitative data. So qualitative data is a type of data which is known as the enumeration data and represent a particular quality or attribute. Now these are expressed as a numbers without unit or measurement. Now it will be always expressed as a number, and it will be without any, there will be nothing measurement of that. So there are no unit, like in blood group we don't have any unit, we have a particular type of data, type of group like A, B, AB, etc. So we don't have any unit, so that is known as qualitative. Now what are quantitative? Quantitative are known as measurement data. Here measurement can be fractional, like height in centimeter, or like weight in kg, or hemoglobin as a percentage, blood pressure as a millimeter of mercury, which we daily encounter, serum bilirubin also, direct how many mg per dl, or indirect how many mg per dl. So these are expressed as a number with or without units of measurement. So there can be a question which can be given as a short answer or short note to write about the data and the various types of data. So you have to then answer like this. And now there are in other qualitative or quantitative, there is second type of data also, which is known as discrete or continuous. Now what is discrete data and what is continuous data? Now discrete data, here we get a whole number. Now in discrete data we get a whole number, and number of the people dying in road accident, number of refrigerator requiring repairs, and number of vials of polio vaccine which have lost efficacy are example of this type of data. So discrete data is a particular type of data where we get a whole number. Okay, like number of people dying in a road accident. So in a particular area, like suppose we are discussing about like in a particular area that number of people who are dying in a road accident, it can be 0, it can be 1, it can be 2 if we specify, if we come for analysis. And there can be also number of vials of polio vaccine which have lost efficacy. So there can be particular, if we analyze, for example, a hypothetical example. For example, we are seeing a particular in any XYZ hospital, the polio vaccine which has lost efficacy, and it can be 0 also, and it can be 1, it can be 2 also. So like that, it is a discrete data. Now, what is continuous data? Now, continuous data here, now in the case of continuous data, discrete data already I have described. Now, continuous data, here there is a possibility of getting the fractions. Like in continuous data, we can get a type of fractions or in decimals, like 1.2, 3.81 or 7.75.3286. Now, depending like on our requirement, weight can be expressed like 51 kg, like continuous, or like 50.963, or there can be unlimited possibilities that we may expect during measurement. In other words, it takes all possible value of certain range. Now, for example, height and weight of hemoglobin level. Now, height and weight, if there is a height and weight, it can be like 6.2 centimeter or 6.3 centimeter of a particular man, or 5.8 centimeter of a particular woman, etc. Or a hemoglobin level, 3 point, like a very high anemic patient which is presenting in our OPD or IPD, like 4.2. So it is a continuous, or 4.9 or 11.8. So these are continuous. So this is not discrete. So now grouped or ungrouped, again a type of data which we are going to discuss now, which is known as grouped or ungrouped. Ungrouped is what? Now, for example, we are taking a case of 7 men. Now, let's example, we take men. There are 7 men, and we have hemoglobin for them. We measure hemoglobin levels, and like suppose they are having 12.1, 12.3, 12.8, 13.4, 13.8, 14.1, and 14.5 in ungrouped data. Now, when these are presented individually as below, like for example 12.1, 12.3, 12.8, 13.4, 13.8, 14.1 and 14.5. So here we see that it is presented in a ascending order. So that is known as particularly ungrouped data, but they are presented in a particular format. Now, what are group data? Now, group data, in a group data, we can present hemoglobin of 7 men as like in a particular groups, like 12 to 12.9, there are 3 men, 13 to 13.9, there are 2 men, and 14 to 14.9, there are 2 men. So how many men total are there? 5. 3 plus 2 plus 2. 3 plus 2, 5, and 5 plus 2, 7. So here we are discussing about 7 men only, and here we are giving a group, a particular group. We are giving a group. So 12 to 12.9, 3 people are there. 13 to 13.9, 2 people, and 14 to 14.9, 2 people. So this is known as group data. Sorry. Now, we are again discussing about primary data and secondary data. Now, according to a source of data, we can, again the data can also be classified at, like suppose, primary data and secondary data. Now, primary data, these are data obtained directly from an individual. It gives precise information like height, weight, disease of an individual interviewed in a primary data. Now, in a primary data, what we do? Now, these are data that is obtained directly from the individual. We can ask, and we can easily find it out. Like height, we can check, or like weight, we can see. Okay. And now the secondary data is there. Now there are data which are obtained from outside source. Now secondary data are those data which are obtained from the outside source. Now, if you are studying hospital records and wish to use the census data, then census data between the a particular hospital becomes a secondary data. Now, primary data are obtained by a study specifically designed to fulfill the data requirement of that particular problem, and this particular data are original. Always the primary data are original in character. Now, data which are not originally collected but are obtained and published from unpublished sources are known as secondary data. Always you have to remember that which are published by any unpublished sources, which they are only known as the secondary data. Now, secondary data has what are the advantages of secondary data? Secondary data is a convenient to use, and it is a much quicker to obtain than primary data if it is available. Now, secondary data are very quickly available. Okay, primary data you have to depend that when people will come and when you will check their height, weight, etc. And if the secondary data is there, you can find it out if it is available. Now only secondary data may be available on some subject where collection of primary data is impossible. Now for example, data related to 5-year plan cannot be collected by any individual or research organization, but can be only obtained from the government publication. Now for example, the 5-year plan, like a government 5-year plan or 10-year plan, they can be obtained only from secondary data only, because from a government publication. It is impossible for a particular individual to go and collect the data. So these are known as secondary data. Now, what are the disadvantages of secondary data? Now, disadvantage of secondary data is that data needed by the researchers may be difficult to get. These are the disadvantages. Now, the data may not be sufficiently accurate. It may or may not be. It may be biased, or it may be of some error or something like that, which we cannot precisely discover it. So the data may or may not be sufficiently accurate, and the choice between primary and secondary data depends on the various factors like nature and scope of study, available funds, availability of time, required accuracy and expertise of collecting agency. So this is the particular type of data, advantages and disadvantages of primary as well as secondary. Now there is another type of data only which we discuss, nominal and ordinal. Now in what is nominal and ordinal? In nominal data, the information fits into one of the category, but the category cannot be ordered in one above another. Now for example, in a classroom a student can be Hindu, Muslim, Christian or Buddha. So the student belongs to one category, but there is no ranking of this category. So that is known as nominal. Another example can be color of the eyes, race. Thus a nominal data means that what the nominal data actually means. The nominal data actually means that the categories can be named, or they are just for namesake but not ordered. They are not ordered, but they are just for namesake. Like a particular Hindu studying in school, or particular Hindu Muslim studying in particular school. Okay, so they are nominal data, but they are just for namesake. They are not for any particular research or any particular, we can draw any conclusion or something like that. And like that, ordinal data. In ordinal data, describe a limited number of categories that can be ordered one above the other, but the space between each category may not be the same. Now, just for example, student getting less than 35% marks is fail. Like for example, we have just ordinal data. We have just benchmarked it rather, that particularly in any subject who is getting less than 35% is considered to be fail. Getting 36 to 50% is third class, 51 to 59 is second class, and more than or equal to 60% is first class. Now here there is a definite order in this category. So here if we categorize, so that is known as ordinal data. So there can be a question which can be given as a long answer also. So particularly when I am discussing the question of PGTs, so there can be asking about the different definition of data and different types of data, where each and every example has been asked for. So here in the case of the nominal and ordinal, you have to give an example. So in ordinal data, just as I told you, this is the benchmarking which you have to give and you have to specify. So this is the particularly in this way you have to tell. Now the scales. So what are the scales of measurement actually? The scales, qualitative data are measured earlier in nominal or ordinal scale. Now always remember that a qualitative data, as I told you, qualitative data are measured in nominal or an ordinal scale. Now quantitative data are measured in interval or ratio scale. Now what is nominal scale? Now scales. Now we are discussing about the scales. Now nominal scale, in this case, observation are classified into category that are different in character and cannot be measured or ordered. Like for example, sex, which is male or female, religion like Hindu or Muslim, or blood groups like A, B, AB or O, which I discussed just now. Hair like grey, brown, and race are the few examples of such data. So that is particularly nominal scale. They will be categorized as a nominal scale data. Now ordinal scale, all observation here refer to the common character of an attribute. This observation can be grouped into a limited number of category, which can be ordered in an ascending or descending series. Like result of student as pass class, second class, or first class, and distinction in one such example. Another example can be severity of pain. Severity of pain also in pain scale, which we have already studied in another subject like in sociology or in pain management. Like pain category, another example can be severity of pain measured as grade 0 to 5, or cancer stage mentioned as a grade 1 to grade 4. Now remember here that grade 3, now we have to remember that grade 3 does not mean grade 1 plus grade 2, ordinal data or ordinal data is semi-quantitative, but mistake as mentioned above be avoided. One should never confuse the codes and measurement. One must remember that interval between the successive categories is usually different. So here we cannot, like, if it is a stage 3, it should not be like 2 plus stage 1 or plus stage 2, like that. So just we have to define the ordinal data as like that. So it is as simple as that. Now both nominal and ordinal data gives rise to the counts of frequency of occurrence of the various categories within the groups. Now naturally these counts are bound to be as a whole number. Now the nominal or ordinal data they are bound to be a whole number, which I just now discussed in the case of data. Here the scale actually 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and the n number. Now it is possible to convert this into rates, proportion, percentage, which can be decimal, but these counts need to be analyzed in different manner. So it should be analyzed. So what particular number we are, like 1, 2, 3, 4 or n series we are taking for account of a particular number of people who are suffering from any disease or which are staged, etc. So these are the scales of measurement, like nominal, ordinal. So there we can analyze it. Now third comes the interval scale. Here observations are given on the scale so that in addition to the ordinal level, the measurement of distance between any two successive measure is fixed and equal. Now take an example, like suppose take an example of the body temperature, where temperature is 35 degrees Celsius and 36 degrees Celsius, so a difference of 1 degree Celsius. So it is an interval 1 degree Celsius, which is equal to the difference between temperature of 67 and 68 degrees Celsius. Now is interval of a real zero does not exist. Now here the interval of real zero does not exist here. So here always there is a difference between, if there is an interval scale, there may be difference, like body temperature where 35 or 36, so difference of 1 degree. Now it is again equal to like temperature of 67 and 68 degrees Celsius, again interval scale. A real zero here does not exist. So here we do not discuss as a real zero. Now zero temperature actually does not mean no temperature. Zero temperature does not mean actually, it may be no temperature. So 0 degree Celsius, it may be some degree Fahrenheit. So now ratio scale. Now we are coming to the last, which is known as ratio scale. Here in addition to the interval level, measurement of the variable under consideration has a true value point and its origin, and these examples are length, centimeter, weight, kilogram and volume. So these are in the ratio, volume in the ratio, or like length in centimeter or weight in kg, okay, and volume in liter. And here actually the ratio scale means in addition to the interval level of measurement, the variable under consideration has a true 0 point. Like here the volume actually, it can be empty and it can be 0 liter also, it can be 1 liter or it can be 0.5, like that. So in the case of interval scale there is no 0. Okay, so this you have to remember. In what is the difference between a ratio scale and interval scale is like that. Here it will be a 0, there it will be not a 0. So these are the some of the definition, which is definition of different types of data. Now if you scale, like suppose if we summarize in a nutshell, like nominal, like yes, no, female or male, blood groups A, B, O, etc. And here the numerical options is counting, we can count, okay, and like these are the nominal values. Now ordinal values means pain, severe, moderate, mild, or there can be past class, third class, second class, first class, okay. Interval means temperature in Celsius, or ratio, as I told you, means expenditure on health, okay. So these are some of the examples of different types of scaling. Now it is worth noting, it should be worth noted, that statistical analysis of the data can be conveniently prepared as qualitative or quantitative, as already discussed. Now qualitative, now again we are coming to the few example of qualitative data and quantitative data. Now like suppose quantitative data, hemoglobin level in gram percentage, okay, it is always quantity, you can actually see, you can measure it. Now height in centimeter also, blood pressure in millimeters of mercury, or IQ scores. And like qualitative means like whether just you can see, and you can patient comes to OPD and just you see the sclera of the eyes and you can see whether the patient is anemic or non-anemic. That is a qualitative data. And like it is if the patient is a tall, or if it is a short statured, okay, that is a qualitative. Then it like if the patient has come for you for a measurement of like particularly hypertension. So it is whether it is a hypertensive, normotensive, hypotensive, etc. And like the, for example, IQ scores also, like IQ scores quantitative data, and if it is a qualitative, it will be like, suppose you can't measure it, but you can give a particular name, like as I told you earlier, like he's a genius, or he's a normal, he's a idiot, or very low, or like that. So this is the difference between a qualitative data and a quantitative data. Now, if we have actual time measurement, now say weight in kg, we have to choice to present the data as a qualitative, obese, non-obese, or qualitative, or quantitative, like 68.3, that is quantitative as per our requirement. But if you collect the data as qualitative, then this possibility does not exist. So in qualitative, the possibility does not exist that whether it is, we cannot particularly give a benchmark to that particular measurement. Now, we are coming to the collection of data. Now, before we go for collection of data, now for collection of medical and health statistics, we must realize some basic points. Now, care and thoroughness of essential requirement in clinical observation and experimental technique and recording. We should always have a careful measurement, or it can give a false measurement, or it can give error. Now, unit of measurement must be clearly defined, and record should be correct. Okay. Now, the record should be very much correct, complete, clear, sufficiently concise, and arranged in a comprehensive manner. And fourth point is, it should be very accurate. It measures a true value of whatever study. It deals with the correctness of the measurement, and it should be valid also. Now, it measures only what it can be supposed to measure. This can be composed of when a sample selection is based on the measurement of technique, or in a faulty. Just a minute. Now, it should be also precise, that is, it gives a adequate detail of the measurement, and it deals with the detailing. And reliable also, it should be dependable. It can get affected due to observer, subject, or instrumental variation. It can be affected. So it should be reliable also, and due care should be taken regarding about mentioned points while collecting the data, otherwise it will be of little use. So if you don't collect the data, and if it contains the error, then it will not give you any conclusion, and it will be of little use. Now, there are how many sources now for the collection of data? For the collection of data, there are various sources, like census is there. Now, in India, from the last census of 1981, every 10 years census is taken. It is defined as the total process of collecting, compiling, and publishing demographic, economic, and social data pertaining to all persons in a country or delimited territory of a specified time or times. Now, last census was held in March 2011. The data on the age, sex, income, other basic information obtained in census provides a base for planning action and research in the field of the medicine as well as in the other sectors. So this is the particularly census, and there are also registration of vital events. In India, registration of birth, death, marriages, this is also mandatory, and this forms a foundation of health and vital statistics. So here we can form the health and vital statistics by doing the registration, and it is done by the government. Now, another source, sample registration system, which is known as SRS. Now, it is a dual record system consisting of continuous enumeration of birth and death by enumerator, and individual survey up to 6 months by an investigator. Okay. Now, due to complete coverage our country by the SRS, we are able to get more reliable information on the birth and death rate, age-specific fertility, mortality rates, and infant mortality. Now, in the coming chapters, we will do the numericals, where we have to find the case fatality ratio, or crude death rate, or specific death rate. So here, these are what? Now, these are all the sources of collection of data. So sample registration system is like that. Now, notification of disease also, this is also one of the very important source for collection of data. Now, it is a variable source of morbidity data, such as incidence, prevalence, and distribution of certain specified diseases which are notifiable. Now, diseases to be notified are different in the various countries as well as states in the same country. Okay, they are different. Now, cholera, plague, and yellow fever are internationally notifiable disease, whereas yellow fever, it is not possible in India, because in India yellow fever does not occur. Now, sources for collection of data is also hospital records. This forms a basic and primary source of information about the disease prevalent in the community, due to the fact that India registration of vital events is faulty, and the notification infectious disease as far as adequate. it is far from adequate, and serious limitation of the hospital data is that represent only those individuals who seek medical care, and we do not know the denominator due to which the precise boundaries of the catchment area of the hospital. Now state it gives a useful information about the time, place, person, distribution and various diseases. So we can find, but still it is far from the adequacy. Now epidemiological surveillance also, special surveillance activities are conducted for the diseases like malaria, AIDS in our country, and this provides considerable morbidity and mortality for the specific disease, example sentinel or surveillance data. And there are surveys also, population surveys supplement routinely collected statistics. Health survey is used for the survey relating to any aspect of the health, morbidity, mortality and nutritional status. So when the main emphasis of the disease is community, is the survey is labeled as morbidity survey. This survey can be conducted for evaluating health status, a population, and investigation of factor affecting health and disease, or for improving administrative of the health service. And there these surveys can be cross-sectional, longitudinal, descriptive or analytic or both. Now methods which are used for the collection of survey include like health interview or health examination, study of health records, mailed questionnaires, example NFHS data, etc. Now research findings also in various departments of medical colleges and hospitals, experimental are performed by the investigation research. Similarly in biomedical institution or pharmaceutical industries, lot of research activities are conducted with a specific objective, and this data is useful for planning and implementation of health activities like dissertations and research papers also. Now as I told you, these are the various sources of collecting the data. Now then we are coming again to the primary data. Now primary data, how the primary data can be collected? It can be collected by personal interview, like indirect oral interview, information from the like informants or mailed questionnaire. And secondary data, as I discussed just earlier, secondary data, reports and publication of international bodies like World Health Organization or central or state governments such as census, or reports of committees and commissions appointed by the government, and semi-official publication of various local bodies such as municipal corporation, or publication of autonomous and private institutions such as like trade and professional body, financial and economic journal, annual reports of companies and corporations, and publication brought by the various autonomous research institute and scholars. Now there are, apart from there are unpublished source also. There are like various source unpublished data such as records maintained by the various government and private agency, study conducted by the research institutions, scholar, etc., and like dissertation of medical student in health university. Now what is the purpose? Actually the main thing is, what is the purpose? What is the use of this of classification? Now the various use is to condense large amount of data in such manner that similarities and dissimilarities become it will be limelighted and it will be highlighted, to facilitate companion, to facilitate the we can compare, now to highlight the most significant features of data in glance, and to highlight the important information, to facilitate the statistical treatment. Okay, and the types of classification, now if you classify here, it will be geographical, that is area wise, district, city, or chronological on the basis of time, qualitative according to some attributes, or quantitative in terms of magnitude. So these are the definition of data. Okay, now how we can so if the question, like in long answer, if the question comes like what are the sources of data and what are the sources for collection of data, you have to give, or what is the defined data, and similar question I have seen coming, that the definition of data they are asking, and what are the different collection methodologies of data, and what are the purpose. So you have to define the data as a whole, which I have just discussed just now, and you have to tell the different sources for collection of data, and likewise. Now the data presentation. Now data presentation is also very important. There can be a simple short note, or there can be long answer also, like how the data is presented. Now the information collected from the various source is known as raw data. Now when we particularly collect any information, it is known as raw data. Now it is mixed with other information. It does not lead to any understanding of the situation. Hence it should be compiled, classified and presented in a purposeful manner to bring out important points clearly and strikingly. Now therefore the manner in which the statistical data is presented is of utmost importance. So the data which we all collect, etc., it's known as the raw data. So if we give a particularly, you have to be compiled, it should be classified and presented in purposeful manner. Now principles of presentation of data, what are the principles? There are various principles. The data should be arranged in such a way that is an arousal interest in a reader. The data should be sufficiently concise without losing much detail. The data should be presented in a simple to enable the reader to form a quick impression also. and to directly conclusion, directly or indirectly, to facilitate the statistical analysis, and it should define the problem and the suggestion and solution. Now we are coming now immediately the method of presentation of data. Now, so there are actually two important methods of presenting of data. Now data actually are presented by tabulation, by charts and diagrams. Okay, so in the method of like presentation of data, we can use by the tabulation method. What are the various terms, meaning of the various terms? We can, in the tabulation, we have to come to the various terms which are known as class limit. There are lowest to highest values that can be included in the class. Now in a class of 51 to 60, 51 is lower and 60 is the higher. So it is bit understandable. So this is the class limit. Now class interval, it is the difference between upper and the lower level of the class. In example quoted just as I told earlier, the interval is what? 60 to 51. So 60 minus 51 equal to 9. So 9 is the class interval. Now class frequency, it is the number of observation corresponding to particular class. Now in this particular class, like 51 to 60, how many frequencies are there? How many, what you take, number of student, number of diseases, or etc. etc. Now class midpoint or class mark, it is the value halfway lying between the lower and upper class limit of particular interval. In example, it will be like example which I have given, like 60 plus 51. It is 111, that is 55.5. So it is the class midpoint. Now classification and tabulation are not two distinct processes, but actually they go together. Classification is the first step. Classification is the first step. When we tabulate a data, that is the first step in tabulation. Now what is tabulation? Tabulation, it is usually the first step in presentation of analysis of data. That a table can be simple or complex depending upon the number of measurement of a single or multiple set of time. Now for example, if you set example of understand tabulation, for example, we take the death due to neonatal tetanus in 97 district of India, hypothetical, in 1 year, which is just as like 74, 70, 71, 72, 79, 80, 84, 92, 149, etc. So on and so forth. And like 101, 103, 158, 88, 7.5, 108, etc. And now it is obvious that we can understand a very little from these figures. Now if these data are given, now it will be very we will understand very little. Okay, so we will be very in short, we will not understand anything. Now a better way is to arrange these figures in a ascending order. First we have to present in ascending, as I told you, ascending and descending order, that is from 70 to 160, but still bulk of data remains. A similar method of reducing bulk of data can be a tally mark, which we give a tally mark. In this method, a particular vertical bar is put against the concerned number when it occurs. So if 70 occurs 4 times, we represent it by 4 times, we give it by 4, and 5th we actually cross. So we all know on the first 4 tallies, thus we can get a seats of 5 each. This representation of data is known as frequency distribution. Now neonatal death are known as the variable. Just for the earlier example, we are talking neonatal death is known as the variable, which we consider as X, and the number of district against the neonatal death are known as the frequency. So it is F. So the term frequency derived from the how a frequency a variable occurs. Now so a neonatal death and a various district. Now for example, I give you this homework to then we will discuss in a part 2 of the particular that you have to just prepare a neonatal death in various district. You have just giving a various first raw data, and then you have to do a tally mark, and just you have to discuss it to me. So this is the homework for you. And before I conclude, because the chapter is very long and now just I've discussed in half of it, and again I will be dealing with the part 2 of the same chapter, which is the classification and presentation of data. And I will discuss in detail that particularly again we will be discussing about the various frequency and the tally marks, neonatal death, and in various class limit or class interval, then the sketch of the table, and then we will coming about the simple table and tabular presentation, then various type of charts and diagrams that I will be discussing, and about the pie graphs also, pictograms or spot maps, spot or dot maps, shaded maps, etc. And then coming to the in line joining, method of birth, distribution of birth, and epidemic curve, etc. All I will deal in detail. Now just this I have given as a just manual, just a description of the data. Only the theory part I have discussed. Now the numerical part or the pictorial graph I will discuss in the part 2 of the my video, which is the concepts of classification of data for the PGTs of the preventive and social medicine. Thanks a lot.